Is boycotting an effective method of protest in the 21st century? That's what we're going to talk about today. Greetings, beautiful people. It's your friendly neighborhood player partner, Brother Joshua Nehemiah. Thank you for joining me with I Gotta Say This. Today we're going to talk about boycotting. Is it an effective method of protest in the 21st century? That's what we want to discuss today. Now, to give you some background, today is February 28th, 2025, and there was a protest that emerged out of nowhere and I'm going to explain what I mean out of nowhere, for the boycotting of certain businesses, really all businesses. It seemed like it was like a blanket protest for Blacks not to spend money with major corporations. Now, the background behind the reason for this protest has been what has transpired with these corporations, major companies that decided to back out of those DEI initiatives and programs that was established for the advancement of minority people. That's an important term. I'm going to get back to that as well. So this is what occurred. It popped up on my timeline. I actually didn't hear anyone talking about it. It came up on my timeline that this is what it's supposed to take place. First, I got a question. Did you hear about it? If you heard about it, chime in the comments how you heard about it, what you felt when you saw that there was a protest occurring, and if you protested or not by not spending your money. So this protest came about, and I saw that, and I thought to myself, one, I don't know what organization is launching this protest. Two, I don't know what is the intended outcome for this protest. And then three, I wondered how much talk about this boycott has actually happened word to mouth, or was this just a social media initiative? If you know what group initiated it, please let me know, because I did look for it, and even the post that I saw online, it had no stamp, no one taking credit for organizing this. That's really tremendously critical when conducting a protest or a boycott. And so I wondered, is this an effective method to use in the 21st century? Now, anything that we can do that will impact the bottom line for any organization, any corporation, any nonprofit, any business, and their bottom line is revenue, anything that we can do to affect their revenue, it is effective. Anything that we can do to cause them to re-examine policies, practices, it's hit them in the pockets. That will cause a lot of changes. The reason why these companies decided to renege on their DEI policies is because they don't care about people. They don't care about people. They care about their business relationships. They care about lobbying. They care about keeping in contact with those who are in control of the power structure. And so they blow whichever way that wind blows. And that's what we're experiencing right now. When this new person came into office, they decided to scrap what they implemented under the former presidency. So that's something that we really ought to pay attention to. These companies have no morals. They have no values. No morals, no values. And so when we look at our patronage of these businesses, we have to be cognitive of how much they only value money. And that lets us know how powerful our dollar is and the effectiveness a boycott can have if there is an intended outcome. See, one of the components of the Montgomery bus boycott was the freedom for Black people to ride the bus and sit wherever they wanted to sit. This was the intention behind the boycott. And in addition to that, it was organized by a group. I think it was called the Montgomery Improvement Alliance or something like that. It was organized by this group. They met at a church, and you had all these Black people of different denominations that decided that we need to work together despite our denominational differences for the advancement of our people, because it don't matter what denomination we are. What matters is that it's just happening to Black people. So we need to do something for us. And this boycott was structured. It was organized. And then once it was organized, there was a coalition, if you will, that went out to the communities to inform the people, this is what we're doing. We're boycotting. Now, not only are we boycotting, because how are people going to get to work? So we're boycotting, but these are the methods of transportation that we have implemented to still make sure you can get to where you need to get to. Now, doing this, the community was already close-knit. There was an existence of cohesiveness because of the oppression suffered by the white government and white civilians, that was the hatred that was demonstrated by them towards Black people. And not all white people, let me just be very clear about that. That has to be said. But the majority of them, okay? We talking the majority of them. I say maybe out of 100, 3, okay? Maybe 3. So anyway, you had this cohesion that was already existing, but then galvanizing in this way only brought about more brotherhood and togetherness. And so you had an organized effort with an intended outcome. And then when we're saying we're boycotting, we're not taking a bus, but guess what? We carpooling. We'll still get you there. With this boycott, I didn't see it being effective because I didn't read, and a lot of different posts came across my timeline, and I actually did hear about it, and some people did. They saw it on IG or on some type of social, but they didn't hear about it. So that's really interesting to me. So when it was said to boycott, there was no alternative offer to say, hey, don't buy anywhere except for Black businesses. There was no, hey, today we're only supporting Black businesses. So we're not buying at any major retailer. Get what you need to get. Google, look for a Black business. And we're not talking minority owned. Let me say this now. So the idea of minority owned, we've been bamboozled. I'm gonna use that word. We got messed up with that word, Black people. This idea of being a minority, and I'm not even talking about just numbers. I'm talking about what that term means politically. We should have allowed it to remain clear in language, whether it was going to be identified as Black people, African American people, whatever the language that was required for the implementation of certain policies, it should have been specifically designated for Black people. Because this term minority is a catch-all term for Black people, minorities. And so everybody else comes in under this minority umbrella. And would you know that when that term is used in this catch-all, where all these other people groups get involved and are given rights and privileges because of the disadvantages that's been experienced, it's always Black people that's paraded for the rights. But simultaneously, it's always Black people that receives the shorter end of the stick for said benefits, policies, laws, practices for this minority group. And so this service has been brought against us, even with this DEI initiative. Stuff that should just be for Black people should have just been for Black African American people. I'm not talking about any other people group when I say that, because this country has intentionally, this government has intentionally, over years, over decades, hundreds of years, intentionally worked to sabotage and marginalize Black people born on this soil prior to Columbus's arrival. Okay? This is real history here. So that those terms caught us at a disadvantage. So we shouldn't be looking at things to say the alternative is buy at a minority business when we're boycotting these major corporations. It should be buy at a Black business. All this month of February, we should have just been encouraging buying Black, shopping Black, going to Black businesses. That really should have been the encouragement. And now I'm like, I got to get on this gold mic more and be a part of that, because I feel that there has to be some voice crying in the wilderness for these things. And if it got to be me, if I got to do like Frank Sinatra says, don't be afraid to play the clown, then we got to do what we got to do to get the message out there. Just like the Apostle Paul says, if it make me a fool, if I look like a fool to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, I'm going to look like a fool. And if it make me look like a fool to say, to go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere, to shop Black, to support Black people, for Black people to treat Black people special, then I'm going to look like a fool doing it. So this boycott that took place, I didn't see this as effective. Now, my question to you is, did you boycott? Why? What happened in your heart to make you say, I'm going to participate in this. I'm not shopping. I'm not buying anything. And what happened in your heart to make you say, nah, I'm about to go right on Amazon right now. I'm pulling up to Costco, even though I just read this post. What were the things that happened with you as an individual to make you participate or cause you to not participate? And if you happen to be of any other nationality listening to this podcast, watching this video, did you see anything about a boycott on your social media, or did you hear anything about a boycott taking place on February 28th, 2025? I think that's really important, just to, because these algorithms, they're going to show you certain things to examine that. So I don't think boycotting without organization, this is what I want to talk about. There has to be a group that organizes, because in order to make the progress we intend to make, there must be organization, because organization leads to unification. When we gather around and establish our collective values, our intended outcomes, and our methods for achieving those outcomes, then we're not only organized, we're not only unified around that, then we can mobilize. Now we know what steps we're going to take. And we have the recognition that if something were to occur to cause us to make a shift, we know who to look to. We don't know what group launched this protest of boycotting. There was no voice behind it. And then another thing, in the time of celebrity, in the time of social influence, in the 60s and the late 50s, they didn't have social media like this. So information was sent via telegrams, protesting through leaflets, or sharing messages through leaflets, word of mouth, knocking on doors. And they were able to galvanize large groups of people. Nowadays, we don't have to do all of that. But I noticed that people will follow someone that has influence on social. Our movements will gain a lot more traction. Anything that we're considered doing, that we're doing for the advancement of our people, for the protection of our people, for the demarginalization of our people, it will be extremely powerful and establish some cohesiveness if we had those who are looked up to promoting what the agenda is, what the objective is, what the outcome we desire is. That would be extremely powerful and useful. So is boycotting an effective method of protest in the 21st century? Always, always. But there has to be organization. There has to be unification. There has to be mobilization. Without cohesiveness, without galvanizing a group to lead out and then even spreading that thing word of mouth, without an organizing body, it won't be that effective, because what are we protesting for? What outcomes are we looking to have? And so this ought to be the intention. Now, granted, I didn't go and buy anything today. I didn't. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I'll tell you why I decided not to do it. Because I'm about to get involved. Getting involved in this way is part of what I wanted to. I want to make a contribution. I want to see Black people organize, unify, and mobilize. And that's what this is about. So the next time when we have a protest, it won't just be for a day. It will be for a week. And when it's for a week, it will be not only a week not shopping somewhere, but it will be a week of having alternatives of saying, these are the Black businesses that offer those same products. We want you to shop with them. And there will be a group that says, this is where you get all your news and your information from. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts and how you think we ought to proceed, or what you think best methods are in the comments. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, because this is a conversation. It's a dialogue. It's not one way. And I'll respond to the comments. And I realize everyone is not as positive in those comments. So what? I don't care. Leave them. You know what I'm saying? Leave them. Say what you got to say. Get it off your chest. But I want you to be blessed, though, no matter what. So thank you for giving me your time, tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. Come with me on this journey. Let's see what happens. You know, God is doing a new thing. Let's see what uncovers as we walk together for the blessings of people, Black people, oppressed people, people who have voices that has been silenced through fear, that we can be a voice for. So blessings of peace, love, and progress to you and your family in the name of the Most High God. I'm your brother, Joshua Nehemiah. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.